So, David, welcome to Red Power Hour.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Um, as I said, I just ordered my hand mentor today, and my biggest concern, I had a right MCA ischemic stroke first week of April, and since that time, I really haven't had a lot of progress with the left arm and hand. I have some gross motor movement in the arm, but really nothing in the hand. And I was worried about the flexion and extension of the wrist and fingers, and if I would be able to do this. That's kind of my biggest question to this point.
sure. Well, let me say this. So, you said, David, you had your stroke April of this year, 2021.
Right.
Okay, so you are very, very early in this process. Well, I say not very, very early. I mean, very early would be if you had your stroke yesterday. I put that way. That would probably be too soon to start rehab. Actually, there's some early evidence that in the first 7 to 10 days, you really don't want to do much rehab. But in that period, you're in this subacute period where very, very receptive to changes. So I'd say this is the time frame when you really want to start capitalizing on that. Of course, improvement can happen many months to years after stroke. And so I wouldn't worry so much about that right now. I'd say let's worry about the time we have right now, capitalize on it, and try to engage as much active movement as you can to try to drive those changes. So you mentioned that you have a little bit of sort of gross motor skills, the gross motor function about the whole arm, but it's a little bit more challenging in the hand or the wrist. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. So this is, with respect to the Motus Hand, it's designed specifically to help with those skills about the distal part of our upper extremity, so our hand and our wrist. So it is designed to help right where you're describing these problems. And
Great.
this is one of the main reasons why we've designed it that way. So even if you have very little to no movement to start with, that's okay. That's why it has that active mold that can actually help and provide sort of some backup to start with. You can imagine it being kind of a synergistic task between you and the Motus Hand, right? Early on, maybe it's mostly the Motus Hand that's helping do the motions, but then as you progress, as you begin to get more trace function, that assistance will start to taper off, right? And it's almost like you want to get that down to zero, where at that point it's all you. You're doing the movements independently. So yeah, it can accommodate for you where you are right now and slowly adjust as you progress and get better.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. So,
Yeah.
look forward
And I
to
will
it.
mention this, as soon as you get your Motus Hand, let's get you in for an assessment and we can do a walkthrough together. Make sure you're off to the right path. We'll
Okay.
understand too, we'll get a good baseline of where you are. And that will be our good anchor point to know how things are progressing and whether or not we need to make modifications going forward.
Okay. And so, do I just contact Motus on by phone to set that up?
You can certainly do that, but David, you're on our radar now, and so we will certainly be in touch to make sure that happens. But yeah,
Okay.
if you ever have questions or comments, or you would like to get in for an assessment sooner, you can of course give us a call, and we'll get you in as soon as possible.
Very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.